like you guys. They don't say, well, we've got a verdict, it's a hung jury.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
me,
so, and I
Vicky
think
Marie.
the default would have to go towards
Now, sorry,
guilty.
I'm just, I've been completely caught out because, hang on.
That's got to be the default when you got a case like this that has so many, there is no reasonable doubt.
I'm trying to turn the sound down.
Right. And let the courts of appeal work things out if there's an issue.
Right. This has completely caught me off guard. I was just having something to eat before I come on live later, but there is a verdict. There is a verdict in the Delphi murders trial. So I'm coming on live. Now, this is a members live, supposedly. But do you know what? I think I'm going to open it up into a normal live, if you like, because I think we've all been following this. So there's a verdict coming in. Gosh, it's completely caught me off guard. So Delphi murder trial verdict is in. Verdict, not hung jury, a verdict. So this is going to be big. So I'm going to open this up now. And then I'm going to make it members later on. I think that's the way I'm going to do it, because I think everyone, we've all been sort of watching this, following this. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but let me see. I'll make it open. Not just members, so that everybody can come in and see it, because we've all been, following this. It's completely caught me off guard. Wasn't expecting a verdict so quick. Well, I say quick. It's not really quick because we've been waiting a couple of days, but so sorry, I am completely caught off guard here, but just give me a moment. Public. So jurors have reached a verdict. So we're waiting for the verdict. And as I say, what I'm going to do is we're going to be public while we hear the verdict, and then we'll go to members only. Hi, David. Hi, Phyllis. I've just got to carry on eating my dinner. I just literally put my dinner out on the table. You can bet that that's going to happen. All this time we've waited for a verdict. Oh, God. All the time we've waited for a verdict, and it's going to come at the most inconvenient time. Anyway, it'll be a good time for Libby's and Abby's family. It'd be a good time for Libby and Abby's family. So, hi, Yvonne. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Phyllis. Hi, David. Hi, everybody coming in. The verdict is in. We haven't had the verdict yet, but it is in. So, quite scary, isn't it? What am I going to put on while? I'm just going to leave up. What am I going to put up? Because I've got to just finish the dinner that I've put in front of me. Hi, Lorna. Yeah, hopefully, well, there is a verdict. Maybe guilty, maybe not guilty, but there is a verdict coming in. Now, how am I going to... I'm sorry, just look at this guy's eyes and to me he's guilty. Now, maybe he hasn't been found guilty. Look at his eyes. Sorry. That's the way I feel about this whole thing. You know that I do. Come on, Justice. Come on, Justice. Yeah, now, I've got one eye on my phone. So you can hear me crunching letters. Now, I think it's been a long time since we've seen a more conflicting case than this. Where so many people think that Richard Allen is innocent, or if they don't think he's innocent, they think that the prosecution have not proved the case. And then there's the other side of it, where people think... I've got chip butty, David. This is literally my dinner is chip butty. Then we've got people who think he's innocent. We've got people who think he's not innocent. Personally, for me, I think he's guilty, but I do think the prosecution haven't done a very good case. But we'll see. We'll see. We're going to find out quite soon. Is he guilty or isn't he guilty? I'm just going to play a video while I'm eating my chip butter.
He's looking at her. But look, he's like, oh, and he covers it up with something. Why would you do that? It kind of does look like a crossword puzzle, though, doesn't it? Or maybe underneath that was, maybe he had that on top of the pad and he pulls it out. What's on that thing? That looks like an iPad there. You see that? Yeah. See that face he's making right there? Does that look like he is subservient to his wife? Hey, thank you. Tighten up. Hey, we're getting close. We're getting close. This is what it sounds like right here. There's a wheelchair coming up. God, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if she had something to do with his mental decline. Let's see. What's the other one? But this one? Let's play that one. Look at that.
We're going down.
See? Same thing. Ginger snaps.
Down.
Hey, the cable snaps.
Shut up. It's not going to snap.
Shut up.
I'm
It's not gonna
gyrating,
snap.
but it's not going to snap.
There's a wheelchair coming up. Oh, I got somebody here. Hold on. I didn't realize there was somebody sitting here. All right. He's looking at her. But look, he's like, oh, and he covers it up with something. Why would you do that? It kind of does look like a crossword puzzle, though, doesn't it? Or maybe underneath that was, maybe he had that on top of the pad and he pulls it out. You know, what's on that thing? That looks like an iPad there. You see that? Yeah. See that face he's making right there? Does that look like he is subservient to his wife? Hey, thank you. Tighten up. Hey, we're getting close. We're getting close. This is what it sounds like right here. There's a wheelchair coming up. God, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if she had something to do with his mental decline. Let's see. What's the other one? This one? Let's play that one. Look at that.
We're going down,
See? Same thing. Ginger snaps.
down.
Hey, the cable snaps.
Shut up. It's not gonna snap.
Shut up.
I'm
It's not gonna
gyrating, but
snap.
it's not gonna snap.
There's a wheelchair coming up. Oh, I got somebody here. Hold on. I didn't realize there was somebody sitting here. All right.
I can hear you.
He's looking at her. But look, he's like, oh, and he covers it up with something. Why would you do that? It kind of does look like a crossword puzzle, though, doesn't it? Or maybe underneath that was, maybe he had that on top of the pad and he pulls it out. You know, what's on that thing? That looks like an iPad there. You see that? Yeah. See that face he's making right there? Does that look like he is subservient to his wife? Hey, thank you. Tighten up. Hey, we're getting close. We're getting close.
Okay, I've finished my dinner. So I'm here.
Tell me I was going to be on there, though.
I've
That just
got.
caused me out of nowhere. It was funny.
Let me just. Oh God, it's all going on. So of course I was watching Gray Hughes.
Here, I'll show you what I'm looking at.
For his verdict watch to get some while I was eating my dinner, trying to get some idea of what was going to happen, and that's when it came up that the verdict was in. Now I know that a lot of people like Gray Hughes, a lot of people don't like him because he's abrupt. He says what he thinks. Maybe sometimes he says too much, but you know, that's his channel and it's up to him what he does. And if people don't like it, well, just don't watch him. I mean, that's where it comes to. I've followed Gray Hughes quite a lot because Gray Hughes is one of the few YouTube channels over this case that agrees with what I think, which is that Richard Allen is guilty. Now, I could be proven, he and I could be proven completely wrong in a minute. When the verdict is announced, it could be not guilty. But I think that's the reason that I followed Gray Hughes quite a lot about this particular case, is because as far as I'm concerned, I do think that Richard Allen is guilty. I'm sorry, but I do. Now, I could be proven wrong, as I say. Now, there's a verdict coming through. So it's not a hung jury, it's a verdict. So it's either guilty or not guilty. It's one or the other. So let's see what happens. Now, I'm sorry, I've not been organised to, I haven't put my lipstick on to appear in person. Excuse me, oh my God, my voice is going, everything's going. This has just sort of come out of nowhere. I was expecting to do a members live later, talk about, the Delphi case, but other things as well. I wasn't expecting it all to come out so quick like it has. Now, Gray Hughes has just said he's been invited to talk on Court TV. So he's been invited to talk on Court TV. Is that because he was right in thinking Richard Allen is guilty? Or is that because he's wrong in thinking that Richard Allen is guilty? But also, I think the thing we've not got to forget, and I'm going to put this on now, is what is this case about? It's not about Richard Allen. It's about these two girls. It's about these two girls, Libby and Abby. They're dead. Somebody murdered them. If Richard Allen is found not guilty, it's not because nobody murdered them. It's because they can't prove that it was Richard Allen who did it. Somebody did it. Somebody killed these two lovely girls. And that's what we're going to find out in a minute. Is Richard Allen guilty of killing these girls? And if it's not him, who is it? Or who was it? Is it somebody, there's been people sort of brought into the frame, but no proof was ever brought, no prosecution has ever been made. Nobody else has ever been charged. The police there, they've looked into other people, but nobody has been charged like Richard Allen. And let's not forget as well, what a chameleon he is, how he's changed his appearance. There's a few things that we can't forget about Richard Allen. He looked like this when he was arrested recently. This is how he look at his pot belly. And I know that one of the things the jury asked for, wasn't it, was pictures of what did he look like at the time that this happened. Could he be Bridge Guy? Because this is what he looks like now, or this is what he's looked like recently. Little frail guy. This is what he looked like in the middle of everything. But this is what he looked like at the time that Libby and Abby were murdered. So, he has changed his appearance deliberately, I think, personally. So we mustn't forget that. The other thing that always sort of strikes me about Richard Allen, this is Libby, one of the girls that were murdered, and this is Richard Allen's daughter. A photo taken on the horrible bridge that I think everyone will always, from now on, associate with murder. See how similar they are. Is this why Libby and Abby were chosen? If they were chosen. Now, I don't know. But it's something that's always struck me, to be honest, is the similarity between them. What else can we say? I mean, I feel like, I can't move on to anything else. I had so much planned for the members live tonight, but I know my members, the Carry On Chatting members, are so lovely. They will understand why I've came on public in the end tonight. Even though I've got some surprises for them, is because I need to know what this verdict. Well, as soon as we know what this verdict is, I'll go probably to the members live. Hi, my angel Alfie. Oh, they're giving everyone time to get into the courthouse. Gosh, it's hi Quizzical. Do you know what? Hi everybody, and do you know what I want to say is thank you so much for caring about Abby and Libby, caring about what this verdict is. This is a verdict that's coming. So if it's a not guilty verdict, what will happen then? What will happen then? If this guy's found not guilty, where are the family going to go then for justice, I wonder? Anyway, let's not even think about that. Let's not think about it until we know, because honestly, I've got so many things going at the moment. Sorry, I'm reading so many different things. When are we going to get this result? Let's see if I can find a video to show you in the meantime.
We're up next.
Oh,
You guys should turn on Court TV.
Court TV.
On the internet, and you'll be able to watch.
So Gray Hughes is saying he's going to be on Court TV in a moment.
Got a lot of people peeling off. I wish I could play the audio. You'll just hear me talking. You won't even hear the questions. Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I can't find it.
No, I do not. Coming up after the break.
So apparently they're coming up after the break, or Gray Hughes is coming up after the break. What they're going to ask him, what they're going to say, why have they brought him on it? He's one of the few YouTubers who've been saying that Richard Allen is guilty, because there's a load of YouTubers out there, just saying ridiculous things for clicks and stuff. So as much as Gray Hughes might be abrasive, and he's all those things that a lot of people don't like about him, but to me, as far as I'm concerned, the reason I've been looking a lot at the things he's done is because I agree with him. I think Richard Allen is guilty. But you know what? We might be both wrong. That's what we're going to find out in a minute, isn't it?
They took that break off for me about it.
So you're all going to have to talk between yourselves while I try and find out where I'm more likely to get the verdict as quickly as possible.
I think 2 hours ago. Hour and a half ago.
Now, I just want to remind you that there are 4 counts in this. Well, let's have a look at this. So there are 4 counts. This might be another reason why it's taken so long to come to a decision. There's count 1, felony murder for the killing of Abby Williams while attempting to commit kidnapping. Count 2, felony murder for the killing of Libby German. Count 3, murder for knowingly killing Abby Williams. Count 4, murder for knowingly killing Libby German. So Richard Allen could face up to 130 years in prison if he's convicted of all these charges. So maybe that's why it's taken so long. It may not indicate an innocent verdict. There's a verdict coming. It's either going to be guilty or innocent. But guilty or innocent on which count? Or is he guilty on all counts? Or is he innocent on all counts? So it's interesting to think, maybe that is why it's taken so long. Do you think that's why it's taken so long? So many different cases to think about, so many different counts to think about. It's not just one count, is it? Gosh, honest to God, I'm sure you all feel the same way. I'm sure people all over the world feel the same way, but nobody feels it as much as Abby and Libby's family do. And of course, Richard Allen's family. Nobody feels this tension as much as the families that are actually connected in this. I feel like Gray Hughes has gone in, he's gone all silent because he's just waiting to go on court TV, not knowing. And I'm just looking at my chat and his chat. You've got a real mixture of people who are saying guilty, people who are saying not guilty. It's like this has really been a case that has split people. Sometimes you get cases like Chris Watts or, the bloody mad woman with the Chad Daybell and Laurie Vallow case. Everyone agreed that they were going to be guilty. We get cases like that, don't we, where we get an overwhelming feeling. Stefan Stearns. Everyone agrees that Stefan Stearns is guilty. The jury's a little bit out, isn't it, about Jennifer Soto, but she's not even been charged with anything. But I think this case has really created such a division of people. Some people saying it's guilty, some that he's guilty, other people not only saying he's not guilty, but really sympathising for him. And I felt that people have cared more about Richard Allen than they've cared about Libby and Abby and their families. Which is fair enough in a way, because at the end of the day, none of us want to see somebody innocent being accused or found guilty of a crime that they haven't done. No, none of us want to see that. I think the discrepancy is between people who feel like there's been enough evidence supplied to say yes, someone is guilty, and other people who say no, there's not been enough evidence supplied. And that's where we are, isn't it, with this case? Such a conflict between people. I personally, and I'm only talking about my opinion, I feel like the prosecution haven't done brilliantly, but I do feel that the case has been proven. But I feel that it could have been proven, it could have been done better.
For so long, nobody knew that there would ever even be an arrest made. Turns out there probably should have been an arrest made the first week.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sort of half listening to Gray Hughes as well. You know, this case was cocked up, wasn't it? It's taken a long time to bring Richard Allen to trial. He should have been brought to trial a long time ago. We know that this has only come to a trial because a volunteer receptionist rediscovered a lead and encouraged a re-investigation. But really, Richard Allen, he should have been arrested. He should have been. All this should have been sorted out years ago. Shouldn't have taken all these years. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Phyllis, but to me, Richard Allen is the correct person. But, we'll see what the jury think in a moment. I don't think there's anybody else under suspicion these days. Anyway, let's have a look at let's find a different something for you to look at. God, this guy, just looking at him, honest to God, he really does give me the creeps. I know that doesn't mean he's guilty. I'm just telling you how I feel and I felt from the minute I saw his eyes. I couldn't believe it when I was reading things, when I first saw that he'd been arrested and charged, etc. The way I thought about it was, that's it, case over. And it's only really been quite recently that I've realised that people were saying, what? No, he's not guilty. Of course he's guilty, in my opinion. But everybody has their opinion. Let's see if I can find anything on Twitter. Because you always get news first on Twitter. Or Twatter. Oops, hang on. We're all waiting for this, aren't we? It's like bated breath. But you imagine how Libby's family and Abby's family are feeling. I just want to show you this. No matter what happens today, these girls will always be heroes. And that's it. This is who it's about. It's not about Richard Allen. It's about these girls and their families, justice for their families. Somebody murdered these girls. Somebody did it. Everyone's waiting for the verdict. And this is, to be honest, this is just some random person on Twitter, but this is how I feel. Why are people so sympathetic towards Richard Allen? To me, it's all about Libby and Abby. It's nothing to do with Richard Allen. He confessed to it over 60 times. He was on the bridge. His bullet was there between the two girls' bodies. I just don't feel any sympathy for him whatsoever. I feel 100% this guy is guilty. That's how I feel. Anyway, but we'll see. Doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks except the jury. Oh, look at this. Jennifer Coffindaffer. She's been going for not guilty. I've nearly fell out with her because I do follow her on Twitter. I have a lot of respect for her. She used to work for the FBI, etc. Now she's saying, I expect guilty. But that's not what she's been saying for weeks. She's been saying no. Oh, I'm going to have to comment on that. I'm going to have to comment on that. You know, don't turn around now and say I expect guilty. For weeks, Jennifer Coffindaffer has been saying not guilty, not enough evidence, blah de blah de blah. Oh, I don't like that. You know, own what you've been saying. JLR will be there, or he'll be reporting on it.
Guess I'm back on again after the break. They got the two parts. Hopefully, I was also going to tell you guys. Okay. So what I just said out loud a minute ago was what I said on the show. You can't hear what's going on when you watch it.
Right, let's have a look then at WTHR or whatever. Yeah, I was watching them earlier, Quizzical Girl, and then I got sidetracked.
Yeah, it's live right now. They don't have it live. Yeah, it's on 14 television. Thank you guys.
Right, that's Fox.
Thanks for somebody sending me a super chat before I went live because I didn't turn off StreamYard's, like the little graphic that pops up on the screen.
Oh God, I was watching this earlier and now I can't find it.
It's like a dancing bear. It's funny because I just texted me earlier.
Oh, I think I found it on something.
Yeah, let's see what the.
So I found Wish TV. Hope they're not copyright people who are going to do me for copyright. Watch Live.
Put my phone on low battery mode, especially if we're gonna. I can hear you. No, Kyla's not out of the courtroom yet.
She doesn't have.
That's the Murder Sheet podcast.
Yeah, I'm on 2232.
Yeah, he's on 2232. I'm on 2233.
Gosh, everyone is just on the edge of their seats for this verdict, aren't they? So I'm just looking at Gray Hughes. He's still looking, trying to find the verdict. Everyone wants to be the first to give the verdict. This guy, this poor guy. Let's see if I can find somewhere else. He just looks totally confused.
All right, we're going.
Stand by.
So Anya, I'll start with you. The first question was be like, where do you think this? What do you think it's going to be?
Yes.
Right, we've got ABC as well.
The trial started October.
Okay, ABC, everybody's waiting. Who's waiting all over and know, oh God, this verdict. God, what's it going to be? Look at all those leaves blowing around. It looks like a very beautiful place. Just been ruined, hasn't it? That are people still going on that trail and that horrible bridge? And these places that get ruined forever by traumatic events that happen there. Where I used to live in Reading, if anybody knows Reading, Prospect Park is a great big park in Reading, and there were a couple of young girls murdered in that park. They were taken to that park. They were RAPD'd. They were murdered. They were told they were going to be murdered. It was a horrible, horrible case. I couldn't imagine that something like that would happen, in an area where I'd lived. And since then, I mean, this was after I lived there. But whenever I've been back to Reading, just to go in that park, it's not the same now. I used to love going to Prospect Park. It's beautiful. Really nice walks. I used to take my little poodle there when I lived there, and I had a little poodle, and it was ruined. It was ruined forever by that. Because you just, all you can think of when you're there is what those poor girls went through. And I think this is probably the same in this park in Delphi, isn't it? How could anyone ever go on that bridge again or on that around that area again without thinking of Abby and without thinking of Libby? Regardless of who's guilty, innocent, regardless of verdicts and everything, the place has been ruined, hasn't it? Just awful. So I've got quite a few different streams lined up. One of them is going to come up with the verdict sooner or later. Let me get some more. In fact, I put one down that I should have left up, actually. Who's going to be the first? Oh.
Start to be convinced one way or another?
I don't know. This was quite a stony-faced jury. I will say this. I felt like they asked hard questions of both sides. They were not letting these prosecutors or these defense attorneys off the hook without asking a lot of very pointed, very interesting questions. And that just showed me that they were paying attention. So no matter which way they go, I think we can feel assured that this jury was definitely on it.
Were they skeptical of either side and some of the evidence from the prosecution?
Is this supposed to be Richard Allen? These court sketch people, they're bloody rubbish, aren't they? Looks nothing like him.
Prosecution or the defense?
I felt that their questions indicated they were actually at times skeptical of both sides. They were really wanting to examine this and not take anything for granted just because an attorney was saying it.
Is there one particular piece of evidence, one particular storyline, narrative, timeline, if you will, from either the prosecution or the defense that you think this case hinges on?
I think personally that the van that was brought out in one of Richard Allen's detailed confessions was a problem for him. That was my big takeaway.
And sorry, my photographer Kevin Stinson just mentioned that he thinks he's seen that the jury is leaving.
Whoa.
So what does that mean?
That would seem to indicate that the hearing is over. And that a verdict has been delivered, and I would imagine we would find out what that verdict is very soon.
Very soon. So I'm keeping an eye on the door. Anya, Kevin, thank you so much. And Phil, was there any questions that you had for Kevin or Anya as we wait for Kyla to come out of the front doors of the Carroll County Courthouse?
Yeah, just one question that I had was that, I mean, this is a verdict, either guilty or not guilty. No hung jury, to be clear.
Right. So Phil wants to, just to be clear, this is going to be a verdict, guilty or not guilty.
So it's going to be a verdict, guilty or not guilty, but something's coming out.
There's not a possibility that this could be a hung jury.
That's my understanding. We were all told that there was a verdict, which means guilty or not guilty.
And give me 1 second here.
May have just been the alternate.
Okay, so we don't know, but the jury vans did leave, but we're not clear exactly who was in those vans. But
Now, don't forget to like the video. This is very important. Please press like. I can't express how important that is. What I've noticed on my videos, I'm only a small YouTube channel, but if I have 200 views and maybe I've only got 30 likes, I mean, come on. Please like my videos. It's important. Thank you.
peek over the door. So this level of anticipation, this excitement, it's been building for close to 4 days. How have you seen the mood amongst the crowd shift? Because I have, I've seen it shift, but what have you guys seen as people who were in the trial every single day?
There's been a lot of negativity, I would say, and then people who are here for the right reasons, who are just curious or want to know more. So you kind of see both sides of it. I think that's kind of true crime in general these days. You get some conflicts, you get some people yelling at each other, but you also get people who are just interested in learning about the process or want to see justice or want to support their opinions. So I think, it's good and bad.
And Kevin, with the people holding signs, both in support of Richard Allen and in support of Abby and Libby, how do you think that will impact the family of Abby and Libby, the families of Abby and Libby, when they come out? The signs that they see, how do you think that those will impact them?
I don't want to speak for the families, but I can't imagine it would be anything other than devastating for them to walk out the door of that courtroom in the courthouse and see people holding up signs saying things like, "We love Richard Allen." And Richard Allen, at the very least, was a man who was plausibly charged and perhaps convicted with the murder of those two girls.
How frustrated have you guys been with the lack of access to this trial? I mean, you guys were on the front lines of it. You guys have been covering this case from the very beginning, but you weren't given, access in terms as like journalists.
Even when we're looking beyond our own experiences, I feel like the media could have been given more access in the form of maybe a media room where you'd have reporters able to come and go. I just feel like some of the public access issues could have been handled better for everyone. And if it was just us negatively affected, I might be willing to say, well, we have bad luck. But I think the fact that a lot of reporters have voiced frustration, I think the fact that a lot of members of the public have also been kind of shut out of this process, especially people from Delphi. I mean, they've been having to fight this line too. I just think this might be a lesson for us in Indiana about how to perhaps better handle the public access of a high profile case like this.
Because obviously it's Monday morning quarterback and, hindsight's 20/20, but do you think that we have this level of crowd and people, staying up outside all night if cameras were just allowed in the courtroom?
I can't imagine there would be this level of a crowd and this much of a circus-like atmosphere, frankly, because people could just sit at home and watch it on their televisions, or reporters could listen to audio feeds in the press room. I think it would really have calmed the atmosphere considerably.
And so I just got another piece of information from my photographer, Kevin Stinson, who is keeping an eye on the jury. He thinks that there might be some more movement over there. So where do you think we go from here once we have the verdict?
Well, if it's a guilty verdict, then he will most certainly appeal that, and we might see appellate attorneys come on and sort of try to get him a new trial. If it's not guilty, then I think it's over to a certain extent, because the state of Indiana said this is the guy, and if they didn't get him, then They're not going to just, slap together a case against someone else just to make it look good.
Have you guys ever been to a trial with this many twists, this many turns, this amount of vitriol on both sides, that people are so staunchly convinced that they know what?
Sorry, I just keep passing over, changing over because no, just waiting for this result.
Failings. There's so much bitterness and anger around this case.
Now, people have made a lot about the fact that Judge Gold did not allow Odinism into the trial, not once, not a single iota. She even blocked it when they tried to bring it in during the trial. At the end of the day, does that impact what we're about to find out?
I think the defense would argue that it would, and they're certainly going to probably appeal based on that in part. Having seen the Odinism case kind of come together at the 3-day mini trial, I personally feel like it was a loser as far as cases go. It really had a lot of holes in it, and I don't feel like they met the nexus that is required to bring someone in. And so personally, I don't feel like it impacted, but I'm sure the defense will argue that.
All right, Kevin, Anya, thank you so much. And when the verdict comes down, we might talk to you again shortly. Phil, I'll send it back to you there in the studio.
We would love to hear from them again later on after the verdict is read. Cody Fisher on the case for us tonight. Cody, very good reporting. Thank you so much. We'll talk with you again shortly. Just to reset, if you're just joining us now, a verdict has been reached in the Delphi murders trial. Okay, so this has been going on this is day 22 of all of this. They've been deliberating for 4 days now. Mario Maslamani is a noted defense attorney. You know him well from our All Indiana Politics show. He joins us now. He's been with us for a couple of days talking about the case. Mario, a verdict, so not a hung jury. So it's either going to be a not guilty or a guilty, right?
That's correct. So, there was thought process with how long this case was deliberating that it might be a hung jury. That's at least taken off the table. Now we have to listen to the jury to figure out, is it going to be a guilty or not guilty? As the previous people spoke, if he's found not guilty, then the case is pretty much dead. Even if they find evidence that it's somebody else, that person's defense counsel is going to be able to claim, listen, you charged somebody else before, they were found not guilty. This is almost impossible to find somebody else guilty beyond a reasonable doubt without a confession, without DNA.
So if my understanding, and you dipped out a little bit there, Mario, if he's found not guilty, this could mean no justice for these families.
Unfortunately, yes. If he's found not guilty, there's a good possibility. And remember, Phil, even if he's found not guilty, that doesn't mean he didn't do it, right? If he's found not guilty, that just means that the jury, with the evidence provided by the prosecution, weren't able to convict him beyond a reasonable doubt. So either he didn't do it or the jury didn't have enough evidence to convict him beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's one of the greatest things about this country. The way our criminal justice system is put in place, we rather have one guilty person or one innocent person be free than be in jail than 1,000 guilty men be roaming the streets. So, our criminal justice system is such that we are focused on making sure that we don't accidentally put innocent people in jail. And so even if he is guilty, if they weren't able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, the jury has to find him not guilty.
Mario, walk us through what the process is going to be like inside the courtroom now that the verdict has been reached.
Now that the verdict's been reached, what usually happens is the jury will come sit at the jury stand, and then the bailiff will come up with a piece of paper and hand that to the judge. And then the judge will ask the jury foreman if they have reached a verdict. And then the jury foreman will stand up and say, "Yes, Your Honor," and then they will go through each count.
Oh, you know what, Mario?
Oh!
Go ahead, Cody. What happened? I hear some cheering.
Yeah. Kyle, you just came out. What's the verdict?
Richard Allen is found guilty on all 4 counts
Yes!
of murder and the deaths nearly 8 years after Abby Williams and Libby German died near the Monon High Bridge in February of 2017. Inside the courthouse, it was Both the families seemed relieved, about 25 of them for each family. Doug Carter held the hand of Becky Patty, and the Allen family sobbed as they heard. Richard Allen remained completely unfazed looking, and we now know that the sentencing will come December 20th.
What was the most emotional part, Kyla, in the courtroom? Was it coming from Abby and Libby's family? Was it, did Richard Allen's family cry? What was the most emotional part?
I would say the most emotional part was when that first count was read. Judge Gold read that. And in the second part was when they took a poll of all 12 jurors, each one of them saying, yes, that was their verdict on all 4 counts. Richard Allen was guilty.
What were the looks on the faces of the jurors as that verdict was read?
For the most part, they seemed not shocked. They seemed relieved for the most part. I saw one kind of sigh into his hands. Of course, they deliberated for 19 hours, been there for days now, and have been sequestered from their families, jobs, homes for a month.
And I believe, so were you surprised when you came out and there was the cheer?
I will say, there's kind of been an interesting dynamic out here I've been here in Carroll County at the Delphi, at the Carroll County Courthouse for many, many days. And sometimes, there were people that were Richard Allen supporters. There were people that were really there to remember the girls. And for the most part, it seemed split down the line. So there were higher cheers than I realized.
Yeah, Cody, Kyla, what was it like? Ask Kyla. I don't know if she has an earpiece in IFB. Ask her what it was like inside the courtroom. Were there cheers inside the courtroom? What was that like? Walk us through that a little bit more, if she can.
Yeah, Phil wants to know, were there cheers inside of the courtroom?
The courtroom remained relatively silent, honestly. I mean, after that 4th count was read, we did hear sobs from Richard Allen's wife, Kathy Allen, and his mom, Janice. For the most part, other than that, it was quiet. I did see Becky Patty kind of sigh in relief when that 3rd count was read, and especially when that 4th count was read.
Now, Kyla, just a couple of minutes ago, we saw the jury vans leave, and we also saw the vehicle that Richard Allen had been taken in throughout this entire trial also leave. So did he leave the courtroom at a certain point along with the jury?
He left right after the jury. So the jury left, and then Richard Allen himself left. They let the Allen family leave, and then finally they let Abby Williams and Libby German's family leave.
Now, do we have a sense of when we might hear from either the prosecution or the defense? Because we do have a place set up for a press conference. Do we have an idea of when that might happen?
I will say they didn't indicate when they might speak. I'm sure they have many things to say, both of them. My hunch is that the prosecution will be out here momentarily. They did seem excited. I saw Nick McLeland kind of fall into his hands. It's been 8 years since the girls died, and something that he has personally made his mission here as a prosecutor. So,
okay. Yeah, so I want to touch on something.
One more question, Cody. Then I want to bring Mario back in, okay? So one more question with Kyla. I'll bring Mario back in. You guys sit tight. Go ahead. One more question to Kyla.
Yeah, so Kyla, we have one more question. The sighing, and you've mentioned that a couple of times. Can you get a sense that they are just tired? Everybody associated with this case is just tired, and they're glad it's over.
Yes, Cody, here's the biggest thing on my notes, and you'll see it kind of underlined and circled. Exasperated is the word, exhausted. Judge Gold said many times, you all must be exhausted. She said that even right before and right after she read the verdict, and it's certainly something that I think is a theme for both the defense and the prosecution, and of course, the jury.
All right, Kyla, thank you so much. Phil, I'll send it back to you there in the studio.
Okay, hey guys, sit tight. We'll get back to you momentarily, okay? We'll bring Mario Masalamani back in. Again, a noted defense attorney. He's been with us throughout the trial. You know him well from our All Indiana Politics show, but this is his bread and butter. He knows this stuff very well. Mario, are you surprised by this guilty verdict?
I think with the fact that he can.
Right. Sorry, I'm going to talk now. I've got this whole thing. Anyone who's been watching this stream from the beginning, you know that I was eating my tea when this verdict came in. I don't know what I look like. I want to put the camera on, but I haven't put my lipstick on anything. I wasn't organised. Let's put the picture up of Abby and Libby. Oh my God, I want to cry. I don't know how their families feel. Because you know what, it's like a jubilant feeling in one way, but these two girls are not coming back, are they? They are dead. That man murdered them. He slit their throats, you know, and left them there to die. He's a disgusting man. I don't care. All these time that people were feeling sorry for Richard Allen, you know, people calling for him to have, you know, justice, if you like. He was always guilty, of course he was. You know, because there was no DNA, that was the thing, but there was so much other evidence. And let's not forget the jury has seen a lot more than we've done. They've heard his voice as he was confessing to these murders. They've heard exactly what he was saying that he did to these girls. He knew all the details. He's changed his appearance, you know, to try and get away with it. But in the beginning, he did want to confess, didn't he? And his wife wouldn't let him confess. And look, I'm not saying anything bad against his wife. She was in denial. You know, I understand that. And I feel sorry for her tonight and his daughter and all his family. I do have a pity for them. But my main emotions are with Libby and Abby's family. They've got lost in all this. There's been freaks out there, idiots out there, actually accusing Libby's own sister of doing it because they were all so keen to protect this man. Why? If he would have been an illegal immigrant, would they have been so keen to protect him? Why has everybody been so keen to protect him? All those YouTubers out there, you know, going along with the conspiracy theories just so that they get extra clicks and they get extra views. Sometimes if you don't go along with the sort of, you know, I've found that many times with my channel. If you go against you know, what everybody wants you to think of, you know, without going into details, is all the Peter Folding debacle. And if you start saying what you really think as opposed to what everybody thinks you should think, you know, saying that Jay Slater was a conspiracy theory or saying this or that, I just say what I think from my heart. And from the very beginning when I saw Richard Allen, to me he was always guilty. I couldn't believe it when people were saying that he might not be guilty. Of course he was guilty. But anyway, he's been found guilty now, guilty on all counts. And you know what, I feel so emotional, especially for these girls' families. They're the ones who have to live with it every day. They're the ones that have had to live with people accusing them of something when they haven't done anything wrong. And in fact, not only they haven't done anything wrong, but they've lost their daughters. Their daughters have been brutalized, their throats slit. And I wonder now if they'll start looking into Richard Allen a bit more. Did he just suddenly in his 50s decide that he was going to murder two young girls, or has he done other things? What you were talking about earlier, Ninchi, I've been looking into that, but I want to look into it more. Will the police be looking into more things now? Are the things that he knew about him anyway? Oh, sure. I just have to look in his eyes here, and you just see this man. He's not, you know, he's not nice, is he? And I'm just wondering, like we were saying earlier, if it's, let's imagine for some horrific moment, he might have been found not guilty. If I was his wife, as much as she might have been saying to him, no, it wasn't you, it wasn't you, no, you didn't, stop talking. Would she really have, imagine if he'd been found not guilty today? He turns up at your door and he's going to get into your bed tonight and you're going to be lying next to him. Are you really, do you really, would you really have believed that he was innocent? Would you have wanted this man lying next to you? You know, as much as I feel for her and I feel for his daughter, but you know, you've got to be a little bit what's the word? You've got to be a little bit realistic. Would you have wanted him to come home after everything you know now, after he's confessed all those times and all the evidence? Would you really want him back home in your house, in your bed? I wouldn't be able to sleep. I would be sleeping with one eye out. Well, I wouldn't be sleeping next to him, that's for a start. And I would never have a good night's sleep again knowing that he was in my house. But anyway, there you go. That's their choice. They've got to deal with that now. He's been found guilty on all counts. It's very sad for them in some ways. But you know what? I don't care about them really. The only person I care about, the only person I have cared about from the beginning is those two girls and those two girls' families, because they're the ones that are living the pure horror of knowing what happened. And they've had to sit through, you know, the crime scene photos. I just can't imagine how that feels. And I still feel, after I saw this, you know, I still feel that Libby is the key to why this man did this. Why Richard Allen chose Libby and Abby rather than any other girl that was on the trail that day. There's something about the way Libby is very like his daughter. And although his daughter might have stood up in court and said, no, 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 he never abused me, never abused me. But I've got to be honest, I don't think I believe her. But, you know, that's between her and, you know, her God or her thing. There's something about how alike Libby was to his daughter that I feel like there's something there. Anyway, that's a feeling that I get. Can't prove it. Just the way I feel. Let's look again. This is how he looked. Look, this is how he looked at the same time or round about the time that these murders happened. And this is how he looks now. Well, we don't know if that's how he looks now, but that's how he looked while he was in prison. And this is how he looked in between. He's changed his appearance deliberately. You know, I don't know. Anyway, a lot of people feel they'll still be feeding off it for weeks. They'll be David. They'll be feeding off it for weeks. The YouTubers who believe it, or will they? I noticed that Jennifer Coffindaffer, she was already starting to say, "Oh no, I feel like he might be guilty." Did she get a warning like that he was going to be found guilty? Because she's been saying all along, trying to cast aspersions on whether he's guilty or not, and then suddenly it was, oh no, I think he might be guilty. You know, sometimes honestly there are YouTubers out there, unfortunately, tweeters or whatever, who just go with what they think people, you know, will create the most drama. You know, you won't ever get that from me. I'm not saying I'm a brilliant YouTuber or anything. I'm just saying whatever I say on my channel, that's how I feel. If other people think it's not right or whatever, well, that's fine. That's what they feel, as long as they're not insulting. But at the end of the day, that I have to have my opinion. Sometimes my opinion is the most boring one. You know, if I'm going to turn around and say, oh no, you know, I don't think it wasn't in my, like with Jay Slater, I don't think there was any foul play. But people want there to be foul play. These TikTokers and YouTubers, they want there to have been foul play because that creates more clicks, that creates more drama. I'm not going to say that. If I thought there was foul play, I would say it. But I don't. So I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, I think there's foul play in the Jay Slater case, just because I could go on YouTube tomorrow and say that. I would get thousands of views. You know, sometimes you don't get so many views when you're just saying what you really think, if it's not dramatic enough. Do you know? So anyway. But, and you're right, David, at the end of the day, the defence is there to give him a defence. They're trying to, well, in fact, the defence don't have to prove anything, do they? It's the prosecution have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. There's actually no burden of proof on the defence. All the defence have to do is whatever the prosecution come up with, you know, they have to try and contest that, of course. That's their job. That's the society we live in, not just in America, but any democratic society. Everyone's innocent until they're proven guilty. Everyone has the right to be defended. And, you know, that's fair enough, isn't it? Hi, Amethyst. But, you know, I know that's what the defence are there for, but I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. I couldn't defend someone like Richard Allen. You know, not only him, there's so many other cases. I just couldn't defend them, because not when you know someone's guilty. Don't care how much they paid me. I couldn't do it. So there you go. Eat shit and die, as they say. And he literally might. You know, oh my God. It just... So you watch what happens with him now. When it comes to his appeals, because he will appeal it, he won't be eating shit then, will he? He won't be... you know, he won't be then, because that hasn't worked. So he won't try and do that again. I predict that the next time we see Richard Allen, he'll be back to his healthy self. He'll have put on weight. He won't look like this little frail guy, because he's realised that didn't work. Couldn't pull the wool over the jury's eyes. So he's realised that won't work. So the next time Richard Allen is seen in a jury room or whatever, I think he will be more back to, where's that picture of him with his great big pot belly? I can't remember where it is. Oh, here. Next time we see Richard Allen, I think he'll be more like this again, because he's realised it didn't work trying to look like this, so he'll go back to looking like that. That's what I think anyway. Let's have a look at some of the reactions. A lot of happy people.
For Abby and Libby, and I thought, you know, it only takes one voice, and through that one voice we were able, you know, I truly believe in the system. I think a lot of people owe the law enforcement
So it's funny how these jury deliberations went, because at first I thought, oh, he's going to be definitely guilty. Then when it went on a little while, I thought, oh God, this is looking like a hung jury. But then when it went on even longer, then I thought, no, this is going to be guilty, because I realised there was these 4 counts that they had to come to agreement on, so they had a lot to think about. So as time went on, I did look at his face there. Let's have a look at Court TV, actually.
Brutal murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us today. We've got an incredible cast of folks ready to take you through this verdict with reaction in the moments just after. Is less than an hour ago that this all happened. Philip Dubé, you see him next to me. Next to him, my colleague, Ted Rowlands. Then below me, Marie Pereira. There you've got Barbara McDonald. She's in Delphi. And all the way in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, Gray Hughes from Gray Hughes Investigates. All right, I want to get reaction. We'll go around the horn. Philip Dubé, less than 20 seconds.
Oh, Lady Liberty is holding her torch high. Today is a day of enlightenment, knowledge, and the beacon of hope, if you will. This jury performed one of the most difficult tasks, and that was to decide the fate of a fellow Hoosier there in Indiana. And they came back unanimously guilty after 18 hours of due consideration. And I have a feeling that this verdict will stick. with the exception of whether or not a higher court would agree with me that they should have had more funding for tool examiner experts to be able to test the firearm and the bullet that was recovered at the scene.
Ted Rollins.
The end of a long, long road, 8 years it took. And if you go back those 8 years, I know Barbara McDonald was one of the first on this case, but we were all invested in this case from the very beginning. You have these two little girls to die in the way that they did with unanswered questions for years. Who did this? How could they did it? This person's a suspect. Now here we are. And it's all come to an end. And I do believe that they do have the right person, and so does the jury. Justice, I believe, has been served.
Barbara McDonald.
Surprised. I thought the longer it went that this jury could be hung. I thought that, there was definitely enough here for some people to find him guilty, but also enough here for people to find him not guilty or to not be able to decide. So I was a bit surprised that we had a unanimous verdict. It's been. I'm happy for the families of Abby and Libby that they can put this part of the story behind them finally.
Gray Hughes.
All I can say is, boom! I mean, look at the Abby and Libby deserve justice in this case, and they would have not got justice if Richard Allen was found not guilty. There would never have been an arrest made in this case. I'm so happy for the family. And I hope they start filing lawsuits against some of these. There's people out there that are making videos against the family members still, that they're the killers in the case, if you can believe that. And now that that's over, they can focus in on getting their lives back to normal. And I think just out of pure sort of just a good thing to do for humanity, they need to go after these people because it's just been absolutely horrendous for the families over the years. And I'm so happy that the verdict came out. The truth is known. Richard Allen is the killer. All the evidence pointed to that. And I'm glad they got the right verdict.
Yeah.
So there you go.
From my perspective, it shouldn't have taken so long. Richard Allen is the man that was found guilty. He should have been arrested much earlier, within the first couple months of this. It would have alleviated so much of the suffering of the families. But here we are today, folks. Richard Allen, guilty of all charges.
What is that? Is that finished? Oh, it looks like that's finished. Okay, fair enough. We'll be right back. When? Let's have a look at something else. Show this. Oh, it's all fit. Oh, they've all finished now. Oh, look, there's me. I'm live. What about this? Let's have a look.
This was kept very secret as it pertains to what evidence the defense produced to the judge as it pertains to this Odinism theory and if it was a credible theory. And so we won't know that till the appeal, when the appellate attorneys take over. And that's going to be one of the big issues that they raise to a court of appeal.
You've been great with us throughout the trial. We look forward to leaning on you throughout the afternoon and throughout.
Right, now, sorry. Yeah, they didn't deal with this case very well. If Richard Allen would have been found not guilty, it would be the fault of the law enforcement because they. I know I keep saying it, but he was like a middle-aged white guy. He's Mr. Normal, married. people don't think of these people, including law enforcement, because law enforcement are just people like the rest of us, until it's actually shoved down their bloody throats. They don't realise that these people are murderers. Honest to God, how nobody could know living in that area, how his wife couldn't know, how anyone who knew him could not know that he was Bridge Guy, is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. You could see it was Bridge Guy, you know, from a mile off. Looked like him. It was his stature. It's his face, those fat cheeks, those gerbil cheeks, all those things. You know, why did they completely get it wrong? And I think they got it wrong. Oh, sorry for me, too late now. I think they got it wrong because they didn't expect someone who did this murder to look like Richard Allen. They missed the. So let's go back to what happened. So Libby and Abby went missing on the 13th of February. On the 14th of February, their bodies were found, their throats slit. They'd been undressed. One of them had been. Do you know what I think about those clothes things as well? Is I wonder if Richard Allen, for whatever reason, started dressing the girls again. I think he washed the clothes to get rid of the DNA in the creek, and then he started dressing them, and he dressed them the wrong way round. This is what I personally believe. This is only a theory. He put the wrong clothes on Abby. And once he'd put the wrong clothes on Abby, then of course Libby, they would have fitted Abby because Abby was very slender. Libby was more stocky. So when he's then tried to put the other clothes on Libby, he's realised he's put the wrong clothes on Abby. But it's too late then because he's seen the white van by then. So he's like spooked and he just wants to get away. It's too late for him to put the clothes back on, to take the clothes back off Abby. Do you know what I mean? And change them over. Because the bigger clothes would go on Abby, but he'd be struggling probably to get Abby's clothes on Libby because Libby was stockier. That's personally what I think happened. And I think why there's no DNA is because he washed everything in the creek. He had 2 hours. You know, you think, 2 hours, he's murdered someone and it's not long enough. It only takes a minute to slit someone's throat. It's the quickest thing in the world. You know, he was there 2 hours that he's got unaccounted for. And why people think it wasn't him, he admitted he was on the bridge. He said he was dressed like that. He said. Nobody else said it. He said it. He's got the fat cheeks. Even, you know, the photo fits that you think, that this guy does look younger than you think Richard Allen is. But look at his cheeks. You know, and whoever gave the description for that photo fit is probably the young girl who, you know, to her, anyone over... You know, you can't rely on photo fits. We saw that in the Rachel Marin case. The photo fit that the police released that we're all agog for looked nothing like Victor, the murderer, when he was finally caught. Looked nothing like him. Because I couldn't believe, I was always thinking, I can't believe that somebody, somebody must know who Victor is. And, well, I didn't know his name was Victor then. But, you know, once you saw the photo fit, and also it looked nothing like he looked on the, even on the CCTV, the door cam footage, because it was like a fishbowl image. It made him look bigger, didn't it? So then you can understand why nobody identified him. So, you know, the same way. But the thing is, what they do all have in common, all of them, these two pictures, these two photo fits, might look nothing alike in one way, but the mouths are the same and the fat cheeks are the same, and that's his fat cheeks until he lost weight deliberately. But don't forget what he actually looked like at the time his little pot belly here. That was how he looked. Stocky guy. Anyway, now I'll be talking more about this tomorrow. I'm a bit sort of emotionally, I think we're all a bit emotionally drained with it now. There'll be people who'll be sorry. There'll be people, what's the word? There'll be people who'll be still saying, oh no, you know, justice for Richard Allen. I could have, you know, personally, I don't care about Richard Allen. I'm sorry. He's guilty. I've always thought he was guilty. He's going to, I hope he confesses now, like he did before. And maybe his wife now will allow him to confess. Maybe some things will come out. I personally think a lot of things are going to come out. So he's going to get his sentencing in December. We've had quite a bit of justice just lately, haven't we? We've had Madeleine Kingsbury's ex-partner found guilty. What was the other thing? There was another one that we had some justice with as well. So it's good to see some justice. But this particular case especially, because it was looking for a while that we might not get justice, or not us, to be honest, nothing to do with us. The person who needed justice and who will get justice, or who has got justice, of course, is Libby, Abby, and all of their families. And that's the most important thing. Now, I'm going to sign off now. I'm sorry, I was going to do the members live tonight. I will do it tomorrow night. I've got a surprise for my members, but of course, now we've been talking about this. I know my members are so lovely. They'll understand why I didn't do the members live tonight, and I've done this. I want to thank everybody for caring about Libby and Abby. Not for caring about Richard Allen. I don't care if anyone cares about him or not. I don't care about him. He murdered those girls. He'll confess. I've got a feeling he might confess again now. Maybe he'll be allowed to confess this time. You know, and let's put some, what's the word? Let's put some positivity into. I think he wanted to confess. He wanted to confess. His wife wasn't having any of it. He was worried, wasn't he, that he might not meet them in the next life if he didn't confess. Then suddenly he realised that if he confessed, maybe they'd disown him or whatever, or maybe his lawyer told him he had a chance of winning the case. Who knows? But I wonder if he might confess now, if he might come out and tell the truth now. Let's hope so. Again, how many times do you have to confess before, you know, someone believes you? 1, 2, 3, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50? No, 55, 60. Over 60 times this guy confessed to these murders, and there's still people out there think he's innocent. Please. Anyway, I'm going. Thank you for caring about Libby. Thank you for caring about Abby. And thank you for caring about their family. And thank you, God, that the jury came up with the right decision tonight. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Please remember to press like. And until I see you again, may your God go with you. Bye.